I guess on to the next film. And I know someone has a quarter, which used to be a nickel on the table.
Oh God.
All right, so I think, my opinion about this movie is well established for the last 4 years. I mean, I keep saying this is my favorite sports movie of all time. I mean, it still makes me laugh. I actually kept my wife up because I was watching it late and I was laughing my fucking head off at a movie I've seen 100 times easily. But I thought rather than talk about all the things that I've already talked about in terms of the reasons I love this movie, I want to take a moment to talk about the two people who I really think had more to do with its success than usually get talked about. And it is two women.
Mm-hmm.
And it is the screenwriter Nancy Dowd, who is right here.
Yeah.
And editor Dee Allen, right here. Both of whom were criminally underappreciated while they were working in Hollywood. If you look at
this is one of the only things Dowd ever wrote under her own name.
Correct. Yeah. Nancy Dowd, who did get an Oscar a year later for Coming Home, but that was because she did the story for Coming Home and someone else rewrote it.
Right.
Most all of the rest of her scripts were either uncredited or written as a guy, like written under assumed name as a guy.
Yeah.
Dee Allen, on the other hand, got her start as a film editor, working on, no big deal, just, little movies like The Hustler, Mr. Roberts, Bonnie and Clyde, Alice's Restaurant, and Slaughterhouse-5, Serpico, Night Moves, Dog Day Afternoon.
Good Lord.
I mean,
wow.
For fuck's sake, never got an Oscar. And I would argue that her cutting on this movie is so fucking sublime.
No, like Lifetime Achievement Award or anything like that.
Wow.
Just the 2-minute Hanson brothers take the ice for the first. If you just look at the editing on that, and that entire movie, and that every fucking cut is perfectly comically timed for maximum effect.
It is.
It's not just that scene. Just glorious work from both of these. And the thing I'll say about Dowd is, I will say, watching this movie, what really struck me this time was the women. For the time that this movie came out, if you think about the other kinds of movies that were like these sort of raunchy comedy movies that were coming out in the 70s, the women are doormats. They're there in the background. They're there to take their clothes off. And the women in this movie, if you think about it, there are 3 female characters in this movie that have all the power.
Oh, yeah.
Reggie Dunlop's wife, Michael Aunt Keene's wife, and the woman that owns the Chiefs.
Right.
The men in this movie, by and large, are almost completely, to a person, caricatures. They're the buffoons. Reggie Dunlop is kind of a piece of shit.
He's
not a good guy.
No, he's trying to fuck her the entire movie.
I know. And also, they don't pull punches. His character is kind of stupid.
His character is stupid. His character is also a liar. But the one thing that Nancy Dowd did that was clever was by making him player coach. It'd be one thing if he was just the coach and he's basically signing his players to get the crap kicked out of him every week. But because he's also the player, he's getting the crap kicked out of him too. But,
yes.
Like,
he's the first one.
He's kind of a shitty guy who's a big dummy, especially when it comes to the love of his life, who by the last shot of the movie is him watching her drive away as fast as she can to get away. Like this
is a very 70s thing to do.
There is a feminist undertone for me watching this. Both the 2 women behind me who are behind the camera, who I think really are the reason why it works so well, and then the female characters that they wrote. Melinda Dillon, gets that one scene where she kind of puts the idea in Reggie's head. Like if you think about it, she kind of lights the fuse.
Yes,
Reggie from everything's fucked to I got to think about this differently, and I'm going to use the moment that just happened to make that goalie nuts. Like if you're not paying attention, this will all blow right past you, and most of the time it has in all of the years that I've been watching this movie. But this time, because like when I watch these movies knowing that we're going to talk about it, I try to watch them as objectively as possible. And this time the feminist undertone to this movie really kind of like leapt out at me more than it usually has. And again, it's just there's so many things about, like, even the throwaway lines of dialogue in this movie make me laugh. I think it's one of the few comedies that sustains all the way to the last bit. Like when you get to that last match and they bring out the rogues gallery of assholes. But then, by the end of it, Ned Braden is taking all of his clothes off around the ice and the band kicks into the stripper theme. Like that's a level of comedic. It never peters out. It starts out and it just keeps going, and it closes really, really strong, unlike a lot of.
Oh no, you think about how the last
10
scene is
stars, no notes.
the last game is constructed. It's like, we're gonna play clean hockey, and you're kind of like, you're watching his audience like, well, I guess that could work. No, then you see it's gonna be a grudge match, and you're like, oh shit. Then they get the shit kicked out of them, and you're going, oh crap. Then the taking the off thing happens, and it's like they keep topping themselves in that last bit. It's just it's fantastic writing.
Yeah, I
just,
think it's fucking magnificent.
It's amazing.
The scene that Chris referenced earlier with Hanrahan's ex-wife, when she's in bed with Paul Newman, that's I think the first, at least American movie I can think of, and absolutely one of the only American comedies I can think of, where there's a woman who is topless, visibly topless, who is having a real conversation with somebody about something.
Right.
Yeah.
Like in the way that a normal human being might in a normal, that relationship isn't normal, but I just mean in terms of like
there's a real natural sense of reveal to it.
She's not topless because that's the point of the scene.
Yeah.
Right. You have conversations with people who you're intimate with when you're both naked, and it's not no one's concerned about the other person being naked, you know, and like that's so unbelievably rare for an American film. And like, I don't love this movie. I obviously I'm probably not the target audience for this. This movie came out significantly before I was born. It, you know, it a lot of it does not hold up in terms of like
the sexual politics and
the amount of slurs that are in it.
Yeah,
and,
no shit.
You know, all of that stuff. Like but I really appreciated, I don't know if I ever really, because I haven't watched this movie in years. Like I haven't seen this since I think maybe I was a teenager. It's been on like in a bar that I was in, because they play this on like the NHL network when there's nothing else going on.
Can't imagine how much they cut this thing up and then
like crazy. But the funny thing is though, if you're in a bar and they're playing it and the closed captioning's on, they don't edit the closed captioning.
Oh, that's fun.
So you still see all of the curses in the closed captioning. That scene specifically to me was like, oh, there's a little bit more to this movie than I was remembering. You know,
not to mention
like,
this is something to think about in this film. She's sitting there in bed talking about how abusive Hanrahan was and how she became a lesbian,
right?
Or at least she discovered she was a lesbian and was
bisexual at least,
and at least bisexual. And the film was not judgmental at all. It's like there's something that happened to her, and she decided to do that. And she's happy with it, and it was fantastic. Yeah,
unfortunately, that's all blown up in the Hanrahan scene.
Dunlop has a reaction to it,
right?
Kind of like this. He's an idiot character. So, but yeah.
And although I will say the interesting thing is, you know, the other guy in the locker room says the same thing that Hanrahan said about her, like if you're queer, then I'm queer.
That makes you gay. That makes you gay,
right? Yeah. And then fucking Newman is just like, no, he's just a fuck, actually. Like,
yeah, right.
Like, even in that moment, he kind of dismisses that. Like, what are you talking about? No, just fuck this guy in general. Like,
right. Yeah, he was actually concentrating on just messing the guy's head up. You know, and that's all it was. So it was actually right. This is actually kind of it was a neat scene. A film full of neat scenes. And
this is the funniest line in the movie, where she's like, what's up with the dog? And he's like, oh, that's the dog that saved the town from the flood. And she's like, fuck. Like I wish you hadn't.
Yeah, right.
The other line, the line that I laughed absolutely out loud at was when they're at the Ice Capades and Morris is being a shithead, and the French Canadian guy is like, "You make me sick when you talk, Morris."
Yes,
like that's such a good line.
Well, he was horrible, Mo. It's like it was.
Also, I want to nominate Paul Newman's red leather blazer and red leather pants combination.
Oh my god!
In the way that we call wearing a denim jacket on top of jeans a Canadian tuxedo, that is a Pennsylvania tuxedo.
Sure it is.
The clothes in this movie are world-class terrible.
Yes, they are.
He wears a
men's fashion. I
have a red leather jacket that looks a lot like that red leather jacket. I bought it at the Castro Goodwill, and it was from Macy's and there's like a trademark on it. It's from 1975.
Wow.
Like I have to get it relined because I can't wear because the lining's all fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah, Newman wears some plaid pants in one scene. It's just,
that's
wow.
Yeah, it's pretty abysmal.
One scene he wears plaid pants in a couple of scenes.
Well, there's
these were particularly egregious.
I think they look great in that scene, Chris, actually. And then I love he's like, I'm not playing with you anymore. This fucking car doesn't work.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, the Hansons were
the Hansons.
Oh my God. What an idea, huh?
It ain't my quarter. Bang. Hey guys, I got my quarter.
And then he looks over and they're like, what are you doing? Putting on the foil.
Yeah, exactly. Which is, of course, for hitting people, but that's their story entirely. But yeah, it was neat because they were forced.
When are we gonna get in, Coach?
And also,
I'm still trying to figure out
once you bring them in, you're waiting for them to go off, and they finally go off, and it's like that's back to the editing again. That's Dee Allen, and you get to see them do their thing, and they became, of course, again, folk heroes, right?
At that point in the film, when they got on the ice, Sheila's like, "Those guys are skaters. Those guys are actual hockey players, and they can skate." And I go, "Even I can tell."
Yeah,
when
Newman could skate too because he played hockey.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Guys on all those guys in the Syracuse team at the end, most of those guys were ex-pros.
Yeah, and
ex-minor league.
Nancy Dowd's brother was Oglethorpe.
That's why.
Yeah,
and he was a minor league hockey.
He was a minor, and he wasn't a goon, but they knew all about gooning back then. So, which is where that screenplay came from, basically. Right. Him telling her stories about being in the minor league hockey teams, and this is.
He wanted to make a documentary, and George Roy Hill talked her into a feature.
Yeah, which was
really
a feature like comedy specific.
Yeah.
But it was also about more than
see Lindsay Krause in something like before House of Games.
That's what I know her from.
Find out she met and married David Mamet like around the time he was being
really
shot.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah,
I remember her from that movie about the
Socia Mamet's mother.
Okay.
I do want to say one thing about this. Like my sort of biggest problem with this movie, and it never really crystallized for me until this time watching it, is I actually feel like, and I'm not actually blaming the editing here, I think it's more of the script and the direction. It feels like 3 different movies are happening at the same time to me. It really feels like the Paul Newman movie kind of vacillates back and forth between sort of buffoonery and then this really weird, like, pining for your ex-wife thing that I don't think really fully connects together. The Michael Onkeen's character is
Ed Braden.
Yeah, is sort of also in a different movie, I feel like a lot of the time. And then there's sort of other. And it's like, it always feels like it's trying to operate on these 3 different levels, and I don't know if it ever fully squares that circle for me.
Oh,
like,
well, no, you're right. This film actually has a bunch of arcs in it. It's got Paul Newman's arc. It's got the
but to me they don't feel connected.
It's got Ned Braden's arc. It also has got the arc about Charlestown in general, about the place like the plant closing and going.
That's not really so much of an arc as it is a downhill slide.
It is. It's actually about it's a prime mover of this entire thing is the fact that the town's about to go.
Yeah, I mean, Johnstown, Pennsylvania, which is part of the Rust Belt, is experiencing this shit at this time.
Right.
You know,
so they filmed it. That's
it was just a force to make moving to Florida look like the last option.
That was good stuff. Also,
I'm glad you guys talked about this movie before I did, because this is one of those classic yelling about movies situations where I came in thinking this. And I'll tell you, Chris, I know you love this movie, and I couldn't, watching it, figure out why for about an hour. I'm like, when does it get good? This is supposed to be really great. Chris says this is great. I had never seen it before.
Whoa.
I'd never seen it before. And so to me, it was like, this is kind of like Used Cars. Like, it's this sort of sweat hog.
It's better than Used Cars.
This is
sweat
way
hog
better
comedy, right? It's like buffoonery.
I'm giving you a thumbs down, and it's still better than Used Cars.
It's better than Used Cars, and it got better. And I tell you, like around the 90-minute mark, when I realized he's not really chasing after Michael Onkeen's wife, he's trying to get them back together.
Yeah,
or get him mad enough to fight.
Yeah,
right.
which kind of
or
works
get
the
him
same
out of
way.
the fight.
Yeah.
Right. And then the scene where he goes to the woman who owns the team, when he goes to her house, it's like, okay, now this movie's about something. And it took a long time for it to kind of like all the pieces to kind of fall into place for me.
Yeah.
And for me, it was just like these ridiculous scenes of everybody fighting.
It's a commentary on violence.
Yeah, and Sheila said, yeah, well, hockey was really like that back in the day. They fought all the time, and you don't see it anymore.
It was like that up until about 2006.
It just seemed
until
crazily
the last
exaggerated.
hockey.
The gooning thing was just a big problem.
They would cut to the ice, and there wouldn't be anybody playing hockey. It would just be everybody pounding on each other. And
Yeah,
it's like,
exactly.
did it really
Really,
go
that was
way?
that was
Yes.
an issue and a characterization of hockey back then.
So that was
and
at every
also
level.
nobody wore helmets. That's another
yeah, and that's
thing.
another Sheila comment. It's like,
Yeah,
look,
you notice
nobody's
that
got helmets.
the only guy who wore Johnny Upton, the guy behind Chris, is the only guy who wore a helmet consistently because he was like this one sensible guy who knew when the team folded, he had to go to the
Who
crisis.
knew what a traumatic brain injury was?
Generally, if you wore a helmet at this time, it was because you'd suffered a skull fracture.
Probably that too, yeah.
And so once you have a skull fracture, you're more prone to additional skull fractures. And literally, the hockey helmet was invented for people who had skull fractures.
Wow.
And so then eventually they make it a rule that everyone has to wear a helmet, except if you were in the league before that rule went into effect. So that you've guys like Gordie Howe who are playing up into the mid 90s who are not wearing a fucking helmet when everyone else on the ice is.
Wow.
And they didn't mandate face shields, which don't cover your lower jaw either. They only cover the upper part of your face.
Right.
They didn't mandate face shields until like 5 years ago.
Yeah, true.
Like, it's fucking bananas.
Yeah, you could wear a helmet like Upton's. It was okay until like 6 or 7 years ago. You're right, in Major League Hockey. But
I also want to. This movie reminded me of something that I think everyone should watch if they haven't seen it, which is and I'm not a big SNL guy, but the SNL sketch where Chance the Rapper is playing a basketball reporter who's filling in at a hockey game.
That sounds fun.
It's so good. They did a second one where he's at a League of Legends tournament. Like they did the same joke again, but the him playing a basketball reporter reporting on hockey is so great. So
this is also unusual in this film in a way that it was kind of like there's a French Canadian influence in this film that's really strong. And in fact, I think that Reg is supposed to be Canadian because he had a Canadian flag in his living room or above his bed.
They
never really said it, but I think he was.
Well, no, because there's the scene where him and Braden are having the interview, and he says, "Oh, and you're the new young upstart," and he goes, "Yeah, well, I'm an American citizen." Like, there is that one sort of like, the difference is he's old, I'm young, and I'm American.
Yeah, that's right. So
this is the era where you start having more actual Americans playing hockey. Like, this
it was starting to widen out.
Yeah. You know, we're a couple of years out from the 80 Miracle team.
Right.
And the 80 Miracle team was the first time that American hockey was really taken seriously.
Yeah.
Like, because up until that point, we'd been international punching bags. Right. So, like,
mind you, this film is revered like, Star Wars in Canada. This is this
movie is revered like it's Star Wars in hockey.
In hockey, yeah. Well, that's why they make these in Montreal. That's like they love this movie. All the sequels even the sequels did well. They're all direct to video, and they're not.
I've never seen any of them. I don't.
No, they're all terrible, but they love them in Canada. That's
Bobby Dunn. Bobby Dunn is what you call somebody who is not telling the truth in hockey.
Trying to capture the spirit of the thing.
Yeah, exactly.
But literally, that's a term that's used in hockey for like a reporter who's not telling the truth. Like that's how much influence this has on hockey as a culture.
Yeah,
Chris, do you have your Hanson Brothers Todd McFarlane thing you can show us?
Mine's in a box somewhere, but I got the same thing he did.
Bring it in. Go get it.
Okay, we'll wait here. But I'll make a note here.
I've got the Jaws one somewhere.
Anyway, that's
which is on top of the boat.
Yeah.
Do we? Is now a good time for Jim's Corner?
Oh,
is the laundry done?
No, it's still going. Anyway, I've always liked this movie, except I saw it a bunch of times because a friend had it on tape. And we would just watch it, like put it on in the background, this and Second City TV.
Oh yeah.
repeats.
Some ways it's
And
look,
it's,
there's two of them.
Very, very nice, Chris. Very nice.
And
You
I
have two different ones.
No, there's three guys.
The only parts I remember
it's
from
Jim
watching those. There you go.
There it is. High sticking. See, he's about to get someone right in the throat with that thing.
It's like hooking to me, but still.
That could be.
Okay, Jim, continue, please.
Please.
The thing that, having seen the movie, I don't know how many hundreds of times, I couldn't remember much about it except for the Hanson brothers, the French goalie, and the woman who owns the team at the end.
The French goalie is the best character in the movie.
Anita somebody, I can't remember her name.
Anyway, so it was a lot of fun, and it was interesting to see Paul Newman do Cool Hand Luke, and then 10 years later,
This is his favorite movie he ever did.
Is that right?
Also,
It
apparently,
sort of shows,
apparently he didn't used to curse before he did
I
this
read that.
movie, and it changed his vocabulary
This
going
film
forward.
changed his vocabulary. This was actually at the time set a record for the times the word "fuck" was used in the movie.
They had a second separate don't bring children to this movie on the advertising because of how much profanity there is.
So guess what happened in '77? My stepdad took me to see this movie. So there it was.
Shocking.
I saw this movie opening night. As you guys know, they would do novelizations of the script that you could buy later in the bookstores. And when I went to go buy the novelization of Slapshot, the bookseller didn't want to sell it to me because I was 13.
Did you see this? Did you see the story about how one of the background extras, who was actually a hockey player, got paid $500 for his time and a signed copy of the script from Paul Newman?
No.
That's how big a deal Paul Newman was. Part of your salary is you get the script signed by Paul Newman.
Man, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
One thing that John pointed out is
I know, I'd take that. Fuck.
Seeing it kind of with watching it not.
I take that now.
A while. It's paced well, but there is kind of a slack part, I think, right around near the end, where it kind of slows down a bit.
I think there's a couple.
Yeah, there's a couple places where things kind of quiet down a little. But
if this movie was made in the 90s, it would be 98 minutes long.
Yeah, probably. But when he's out, trying to talk to Ned, and even if stuff with the owner was a little bit lugubrious. There's some places where the film kind of takes a pause.
There's a couple of scenes with the manager too, which are just kind of go on a little bit too long.
You tell stories about masturbating players that never.
Yeah, or you dressing up as a woman.
Exactly, it's not really necessary in this thing, but it's still overall, that where it works extremely well.
I don't know if we need to see the entire panning shot of both buses with all the asses hanging out the window. You get the point after the first one. I don't think that makes it funnier.
I think the other thing that threw me was that I was expecting a sports movie, and there's barely any hockey playing in this movie.
That's not really a sports movie in all
ways. I was waiting. So this is a
sports movie. Yet it captures the whole feeling of a hockey game.
Yeah, but the structure of a sports movie is always that you're building up towards the big game, and then either the team that you're with is either going to win, and that's one kind of sports movie, or it's something like Bull Durham where they don't win, and that's a great ending.
Or Tin Cup.
Yeah, you're right. Tin Cup. Right. Where it's winning and losing is completely fucking, that's beside the point in this movie.
Hold that thought for a second. This film, you brought this up, John. This film is about a team that decides to kind of clown their way to a championship. They're just going to fight and goon and beat the other guys up and play a psychological mindfuck to everybody until they get to the championship slot.
Yeah,
so it's all about this team cheating. Basically, when they win, it's kind of
you really see where minor league got it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's
I will say the other thing that
it's a movie about sort of moral tone, right?
I will say the other thing about that this movie captures is how shitty minor league hockey players are at playing real hockey. If you're used to going to or watching professional hockey games and you go to a minor league game, it's like, oh my God, no one has any idea what they're doing.
Yeah,
it's like watching a little kid's soccer game where they all just run at the ball and fall down.
Yeah. Pretty much.
I'm gonna get beat up by a minor league hockey player for this, but I'm right.
Okay. Good enough. Well, I think we can probably go to cards at this point. There's anything else want to add?
10 out of 10, man.
No, still good to me, man.
Hey, you took me like here.
Well, John, I like
Okay.
when you convert somebody. That's the best. It's like he went from yeah to yeah kind of thing. That's good.
And Scott and I had this chat offline. Yeah, you might be annoyed like how many times you have to listen to that Maxine Nightingale song, but there was a period of time when they didn't have the rights to that song, when they would put this out on VHS and whatever, and it was another song.
Oh yeah.
And it drove me fucking crazy.
Oh yeah, it was like
It wasn't
sure.
until the 25th anniversary that they went and paid the licensing rights to get the fucking music back.
There is
No.
so much 70s music. It was like
No,
just turning on the AM radio at the time. We were like in the 5th grade. That's what this movie is.
This is semi
Driving around in your Chevy Monza.
Maybe 7th grade. Yeah.
It's semi non-diegetic too. It's like a lot of it's justified, like it's playing on a radio and
Playing on the bus or whatever.
Yeah, so it's like network in that respect. There's no score in this film.